Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Winner Is You podcast, which is still haunted, Alex.
Spooky David, yep.
For newbies, we are a sort of video game book club hailing from both ends of the United Kingdom, giving you deep dive discussions into different games just about every other week. We talk ins, outs, ups, downs, and every so often we stumble into some decent insight and entertainment along the way. This week we are back with the sequel to a game we played around about this time last year, I think, released on the 14th of October 2003, developed by Remedy Entertainment and published by Rockstar Games. We are bringing you a game that scored a respectable 83 on Metacritic, and while it lacks the fresh bombast of its predecessor, it still manages to deliver a solid and recognisable sequel to what most gamers worth a salt will be familiar with. That's right, folks, tonight we are talking all things Max Payne 2. So while you get your ears accustomed to our accents, my name remains David, and sitting negative 10 degrees across from me is my partner in crime, Mr. Alex Aldridge. How are you doing today, Alex?
Ahoy, hoy. I'm doing well, thank you.
Another top class t-shirt you've brought to the game.
I believe this was Hell on Shirts again.
I don't think I've seen that movie.
It's like it's a crime movie with romantic elements. I assumed it would be appropriate for
that's pretty well themed.
Important to note that as well as the release date that David just said, which was the PC release date, it was released in November, which was when this was supposed to be recorded, for consoles.
Nailed it.
So we are celebrating as well that a bit later than normal, the 20-year anniversary of Max Payne on console, which is where we played it now and where I played it then. And David has it behind him as well.
I have indeed. I have now played it. I was going to say now and then, but I didn't play it then. This was the first time I've ever played this game.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I think I said this last time when we did the first Max Payne. I don't know if I had ever played through it before, so yeah, Max Payne 2 was never going to really make it onto my radar.
Okay.
If I hadn't played the first game. I don't want to sort of jump the gun in case you have this in your notes already, but what are your sort of tertiary overall feelings of the game?
I think in many ways it's better than the original. A lot of what I would say, I guess, ties into what I've got lined up to talk about later on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's thought of as fondly as the original one. Certainly the original one's anniversary was celebrated by Rockstar, where they had this, YouTube video with Sam Lake wearing the jacket and all that kind of stuff, and obviously it's got his face in it that people remember. But this game was developed with a bigger budget and a bigger team.
Well, a bigger budget.
Yes.
It felt like, I don't know, maybe we'll get to this, I guess, but it felt sort of Max Payne light to me. I think I agree with you overall. It's a much more slick game. I think it's a much more coherent game, and it doesn't completely get rid of, but lacks many of the issues I remember having in the first Max Payne games, and that is the things like ridiculously precise platforming that the game wants you to do. There are elements of that in this, but for the like when you're out of the side of buildings and things like that, but for the most part that's gone. I mean, it just sort of leans into what makes Max Payne good, which is just like running and gunning, cool dark themes, a little bit of comedy along the way, and then they sort of just develop Max Payne's character a wee bit character for all he has.
Quite a lot, really.
Yeah,
quite a lot. The first game, the narrative in that, which I'll have put the previously on Max Payne blurb from the game at the beginning of this podcast, so everybody knows what happens in the first game. But it is nice. Mostly just man's family gets killed, man goes after the peoples that killed them and kills them.
Story as old as time, Alex.
Yeah, but this one, Sam Lake, who is the creative director at Remedy, having written the first game, I guess having written the first game as a fan of the genres he was trying to pay homage to, noir films, John Woo sort of action movies, and Norse mythology, which I'm glad was not as much of a thing in this one.
Yeah, the Woden lad.
Yeah, like all the Valkyrie drug and all that kind of shit.
I was pleased to see the return of
maybe.
Yeah, I was pleased to see the return of the vodka license plate that we spoke about in the last podcast that we did of this game.
Oh yeah, yeah. But so he wrote that. They used a lot more basic art for their little comic strip things that were stylistic and iconic, but were done to obviously save money, having to make cutscenes. But in between the two games, he went to get like professional writing tutelage and studied that quite a lot. So he had the help of more professional people around him with the sequel as well. So I think you can tell with how much more fleshed out Max is, and how the narrative of this game is a lot less linear, and it jumps between time periods, and it can be quite hard to follow. That they definitely upped their game in that regard.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that he went away and got some writing credentials, because you're right, it is a bit more you do flesh him out a bit. I feel like I'm trying to think back to last year how I felt about Max Payne. I remember coming away from it thinking I enjoyed it, thought the story was fine enough to sort of propel you through the game. It was just sort of Punisher light. Plus, absolutely. I don't know, I was going to say almost a more gritty version of the Punisher. To me, I've never read the comic books or anything, so my sort of exposure to the Punisher is the movies, which are quite sedate, I would say.
Yeah. I'd say the comic books are quite violent.
Okay.
Some of them anyway.
So this is much more true to the Punisher then than the movie is. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's not a bad shout. And obviously there's heavy Matrix influences in there as well, which they
very of the time.
All of this game is like naughties as fuck. Like the Havoc physics and the way that the characters kind of look, with the nowhere near as bad as the first game, where it was just like GoldenEye style, like there's a JPEG on a other character model and it's mostly Sam Lake's face. Or the character models in the first game were basically like everybody at Remedy's family, and people were like, have come out, like worked on the game, have said like, oh, it's really weird to see like my dad is like background mobster 3 in this scene, and he's long since dead, and I can still sort of see him in the game or whatever, which is quite sweet, really. But so after they did the first game,
okay. I don't know why, but when you're talking about being able to see dead people after they had sort of moved on, I was like, oh, so maybe that's where Kanye West got his idea. Do you remember he did that for Kim Kardashian when they were together? He got like a hologram of her dead dad.
Oh, did he not make a game about his dead mum as well?
Did he?
Terrible, yeah.
What kind of game is that? Because memory serves she died getting plastic surgery.
What, his mum?
I have no idea how I know that. Yeah, I feel like she died in the operating table.
Kanye West, and I know nothing.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just seem to have absorbed it.
Died getting plastic surgery.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all the many millions of emails we get every week will set me straight if I'm incorrect there, but I'm fairly sure that's what happened.
Tell us on Twitter how Kanye West's mum died. We might even do a Twitter poll.
I mean, if Twitter's good for anything, it's good for that, surely.
Yeah, one of those Emma bots has got to know.
Or did you see we changed a couple of times? We got an Evelyn.
Yeah.
I was I was actually liking the names changing every so often. Seeing how far through the E's we could get.
What a dreadful website. Utterly, utterly dreadful. Right, yeah, so obviously after the first Max Payne, which I believe on consoles was published by Rockstar whilst being developed by Remedy. Then parent company of Rockstar, Take-Two, they then purchased the rights to Max Payne from Remedy and 3D Realms.
Right, okay.
For $10 million.
Well, that's really confusing me then.
And 970,000 shares of common stock.
So do Take-Two own Rockstar? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
So Rockstar publish games, but they have...
Yes.
Right, okay. I don't like that.
Yeah.
That upsets me. That's too many layers.
Take-Two can get fucked in all regards, so that's fine not to like that. They suck. They're horrible.
Are they?
Yeah. I can't think of what specifically they've done now, but if you Google Take-Two, they've probably done some bullshit like giving a CEO a load of money and firing loads of people.
That sounds like the video game industry.
Good point. It's all of a minute, really. So after that, then Remedy got offered like $8 million in these incentive payments. They got double the budget from the first game to develop Max Payne 2, but they were told by Rockstar that they needed it doing quicker than the first game. The first game took about 5 years to develop. Apparently, they only had 12 staff, and it took them they really poured everything they had into it, which is why it kind of has this sort of DIY look to it in certain places. Rockstar did help with the development, apparently, especially in terms of like the comic panels and the textures in the game, where they apparently some Remedy staff with like very expensive cameras got taken out to New York. They'd never been to New York during the first game, like hardly anyone from Remedy, because obviously they're from Finland. No one had been to New York, so it's just like Sam Lake's getting this from pop culture, and he's then putting it in a game of how he thinks it would look.
You telling me Sam Lake is Finland's Hideo Kojima? Just obsessed with pop culture, injecting it into his veins.
Yeah. So yeah, they hired. So Rockstar apparently hired these like ex-NYPD bodyguards to take these Remedy photographers to like the worst places in New York, like the grimiest shitholes possible, keep them from dying, so they could take all these photos and put them in the comics and in the textures. Which I guess we can get to, because another part around that as well is that because they had a bigger budget, they were able to use proper motion capture, and they were able to hire actual actors to play the roles in the game this time around. Obviously, James McCaffrey was doing the voice of Max Payne again, but they got this actor Timothy Gibbs in to play him in the comic books rather than just Sam Lake doing it.
Right. Okay.
And you can tell it's far better acted in those comic strips and stuff. And they said that they thought it was the right move. I do miss Sam Lake's face to some extent, but the comic panels, especially in this game, are fucking gorgeous. Like, they're so much better than the first game.
I was trying to remember. I can't remember the first ones. Perhaps maybe have a Google while you're.
Yeah, you should. I mean, we can. It's a record. It's not live. You can go for it right now. Just have a look at the difference between the two.
Oh yeah, you're spot on. Yeah, and the actual now I'm looking at these. They look quite amateurish, don't they? By comparison,
yeah. That's what the DIY feel. Yeah, that's kind of what I was meaning. That you can see that this is properly produced this time.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, totally didn't notice that. Yes, you're right. I'm enjoying it. This is going to be a good podcast for me, because I was kind of mixed. Like, I fully enjoyed it. Kind of came away feeling that this is a better game, but also was questioning whether I felt like it sort of justified itself. But this podcast is making me have a whole new appreciation for the work and effort they put in.
There's the lingering spectre of us playing Alan Wake 2, so there was a feeling I had of that, just kind of like, all right, let's finish this one, and then we'll get on to the main event, so to speak.
It's been a good old Remedy year, a couple of years.
Yeah,
3 games we've now covered for Remedy. Is that right? Well, come Max Payne 2 time. Alan Wake 2.
Alan Wake will be the 4th one, because we did the first Alan Wake as well.
So
it'll be 4.
Interesting little. If anyone knows, a winner is you factoid. It must be Resident Evil. I was going to say, what developer have we covered the most? It's got to be Konami, right?
Capcom,
sorry. I've got a cold, folks. You have to let me off.
Have we done any other Capcom games?
Konami's does the Metroidvania one that I like, Symphony of the Night, didn't they? That's not Capcom. No, I don't think so.
I don't think we have.
To me, in my head, Capcom is Resident Evil and Street Fighter. I'm trying to think of, although they do have other stuff. I kind of wanted the Lost Planet. I kind of want to see if that's still good fun.
I remember.
I'm sure that's Capcom.
The control scheme in that. That is Capcom, yeah.
Anyway, I'll look this up and I'll maybe tweet it.
They another thing I felt like I was noticing. Obviously, the as I said earlier, the faces are not they're not just sort of textures on polygonal models.
I think the models look far better now. Like significantly better. That's not even a hot take or anything. They just do look better. Yeah,
they still aren't fully animated.
No,
this is obviously an era where I guess Halo's probably already come out.
Yeah, that's like around about 01, I would have guessed.
Yeah, and this is like 03.
Yeah.
So I did, looking at some of it, I obviously like they redid the game engine. They included a lot more Havoc physics in it as I mentioned earlier, and that, you know, you can move. There's a lot of that Half-Life sort of feeling
I was about
around.
to say, is Havoc not the
People
engine
getting
that
fucking
Half-Life
knocked
uses?
into shit, and there's like boxes flying, and there's destructible cover and all that kind of stuff
Was
going
that a
on.
big thing back in the day? Because that, like, when I was running around to this game, and I couldn't remember it from the previous one. I probably should have gone back and tested it, but I don't. Was there a focus on the physics engine when this game came out? Because I think I texted you about halfway through the game that I realised that you could blow the floors up when you were like, there was a bit where you're climbing a building and you'd walk out and there'd be like a walkway and there'd be loads of exploding barrels and people, and if you shot the exploding barrels, I realised, because usually what I'd been doing is opening the door, chucking a grenade, or shooting the barrels and then running away again. But there was one time I actually paid attention and like walked out and shot the barrel and saw the floor getting blown up. I was like, oh my god, actually, there's actual physics going on in here. I wondered, was that a big selling point? Do you know?
But it must have been. I think I don't know how old the Havoc physics engine is, but I assume that it was quite in its nascent stage at this point, and people are they're just really trying to utilize that and become this cutting edge thing. Because I think in some aspects this game is held up as being like a sort of a trailblazer for a lot of that kind of thing.
It does sort of explain. There was a couple of times I died while playing the game, because of like collapsing environments, and I would sort of run through the same level again, into the same area, and maybe things would unfold slightly differently, and I wouldn't get killed in the same way. So it's probably explains that the sort of burning buildings and the exploding buildings that you're in fairly often throughout the game are actually exploding and burning around you, which makes the game, it makes you appreciate the game a bit more. It's not a sort of smoke and mirror set piece happening. It's actually, these things are actually going on in the background. It's something I always remember from, it's one of the earlier, it's either Uncharted 1 or 2, where you're on a ship that begins to sink. And I remember watching a documentary.
Oh yeah.
And they were talking about how they had created an actual like level box that had working sea physics in it, and that when you're walking around the ship, it's actually moving, and that takes a sort of cool level and puts a whole different layer of sort of impressiveness to it. And I think Max Payne's got slightly similar things, obviously, many years before going on.
Yeah, but you know, they obviously tried to set things up in some parts of it, like for things like the kill cam. A lot of the time, your last kill is going to be the one guy who happened to be standing on some like fucking wood with paint cans on it, and he's on the edge, and he's going to ragdoll off, and the paint cans are going to go flying, and stuff's going to roll about. But I mean, yeah, it's impressive. I think you and I.
Well, that's, sorry to put a pin in that, to sort of just finish that thought. When you were talking about like the set piece and stuff, I actually noticed while I was playing that, you know, at the end with the slow motion ragdoll death, they're different. They can be different depending on where you shoot them or what you do to kill them. Because there was one I noticed where I blew a guy for miles and then I died and I had to go back and do that section again. And I must have like shot him in the knee or something. He just sort of crumpled and then just like rolled off it.
Yeah, it's obviously very fun to look back at that sort of thing. I think I guess part of the way that the physics look and feel better in this game is that the guns are handled differently and the bullets are handled differently because of it. Whereas in the first game, apparently they were saying that it was like the bullets move slower because of all the bullet time that's going on.
Okay.
So apparently, like, they would only go about like 80 miles an hour, but they would apparently have been weighted to be like 2 bowling balls in weight, which is why they'd absolutely fuck up like back into next week.
Okay.
Whereas this game, the physics around the bullets were a bit more realistic, which made them feel better, I think. But also, like, the aiming was slightly better. Like, things would react better to where you shot them. The first game's auto aim kind of just felt like it was just aim over there and you'll get him. They have a wide spread of where the bullets are going, whereas this one felt more focused. And apparently, as well,
are there actual bullets in the game? So I know, like, one trick developers sometimes use in video games is it's not a bullet and actually sort of a beam of unseeable light, if that makes sense.
I guess with the speed this is going, and I guess that's like hit scan, isn't it?
Yes, that's the term I'm thinking of.
But I think in this one, because of the way that they drop and the weight behind them and all that kind of stuff, probably are real bullets. But the bullet time in this, like as you were saying, like you would sneak around and do something and then run back.
I hope you made better use of the bullet time than me.
I didn't, and I wish that I had, because I've heard a lot of people since say that, number one, the shoot dodging on this is not needed anymore. Because you can pop the bullet time just normally, which apparently you can do in the original. I think you may have had to turn it on in the original Max Payne. When bullet time is enacted, he is moving the same speed as the enemies, so everything is slowed down.
Yes.
Whereas in this game, he is moving faster.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
They are slowed, but he is not. And
Didn't
if
notice.
you kill enemies, it not only regenerates your bullet time meter, it actually dynamically slows time more with the number of enemies you kill in bullet time. So eventually, if you just press the button and walk through and shoot everybody in the head, you'll be killing them before they've even realized you're there.
That was how I ended up, unfortunately, how I played. I remember there was a point where I started in the first Max Payne where I started using the bullet time, using it in quotation marks, i.e., like, rather than just slowing the world down and diving about, I'd started actually using it and jumping around and using it to get around corners and stuff like that. Whereas this game, almost entirely, I just would go slow motion and then just run into the room.
Oh, so you were doing
kill
it right.
everyone.
I wasn't.
Oh, right. I feel like that's wrong. I feel like in this game you want to be diving about. There was a couple of times where I was on a ledge or like on like a walkway and I accidentally dived off a building, which was quite funny. I wish I was recording that.
Were you? Oh, I didn't get the. I need to. What I'll do is I need to find the clips. I'm going to play them now of the two things that I said to you.
Because you text me about it and then I didn't see.
And I'll send them to you afterwards, but I'll put them in the podcast here where I had some enemies. Obviously, in this game, there's a lot of enemies that they're having chatter amongst themselves. There are a lot of like slower paced bits in the game rather than just all balls to the wall action.
I found there was a lot of exposition like sort of story dialogue you had to sort of stand around and listen to if you wanted to get the full story.
Exactly, yeah. But there was a couple of times where enemies would be having a conversation, and I can't even this is I've played the official one here, so this is me trying to remember whatever it was. But like, I'd have a guy who'd come around the corner because they always yell your name. I'd somehow made a couple of sentences that actually worked. One of them is something like, "Man, I got to do something for this," and it just worked so well.
Yeah.
But they're here. But bullet time. So I don't know. Maybe you were burned by the first game, where the shoot dodging, the diving around. If you did not kill everybody with that dodge, they'll just unload all their fucking magazines onto a guy lying on the floor, like I did when I was paintballing. When I worked at Argos when I was like 17, 18, we went on paintballing, and at the end of the game, they were like, "Anybody who's got any paintballs left, raise your hand." And then we're going to go into this clearing over here in the woods. And basically, we're all going to stand in the middle. I'm going to count to 5. You're all going to run away. And then when I say turn around, you're going to start. It's just going to be a free-for-all. Just once you're out of ammo, put your hand up and we'll take you out. Or if you get shot too much and it hurts, put your hand up and you'll leave. One of our managers at Argos, who apparently was ex-forces, decided his best thing to do would be to lie down on the grass and like try and do some sort of sniping position. But I was stood next to him as he did it, so I just stood and like pumped all my bullets into this guy just lying on the floor because he's a huge target. And then he got very upset. So they added in this game, obviously, the fact that you can shoot while on the ground, like while you're lying on the floor, you can carry on shooting, which you couldn't do in the first game. So dodging around and jumping about not only is better in this game than it was in the first game. So therefore, in the first game, you'd have thought, well, this is stupid. I ain't going to keep doing this because I keep getting wasted. But this game, everybody that I see talking about it is saying the game's far easier because all you got to do is pop bullet time and you can run through and none of them can even see you coming. And there's me jumping around, dodging and diving and getting killed loads, whereas you're doing it the pro way, apparently.
I'm doing it the pro way, but I don't think I'm doing it in the spirit of proper way. I think
it makes it far easier, right? The game's really easy.
Yeah.
First game
I
caused us
blasted
so much
it.
ball ache.
Because that's kind of like, I've been looking forward to this podcast because I think I was like, this podcast is going to bring a level of understanding and appreciation to this game that although I enjoyed the game, maybe didn't have through just playing it. Because like you were saying before, like to me, there was a point I was about halfway through until I noticed it was doing sort of more and bigger stuff like we've already spoken to. I was like, this is just like Max Payne 1.2 and it's just more of the same and I'm just running, it's just more shooting. And I was like, does it really justify itself? And I was like, I was kind of aware it was doing stuff So it's actually useful to actually hear what it's doing, if that makes sense, because
Yeah.
it'll give me more of an appreciation for the game. But yeah, like you want the game to make you be using the diving mechanics, I think, because I remember there being some really cool moments. Like, I mean, like when you watch movies, every sort of teenage boy wants to be able to like dive into a room in slow motion and just waste a whole room. Like, at no point does the game require you to do that. It's an option, and you probably had a few experiences where that was rewarding.
Yeah, like diving
I
away
never
from a
had that.
grenade. Always had to be
Exactly. I just saw the grenade coming in slow motion and then just ran for it. When it's like diving away from the grenade is so much cooler.
That's this. What you've just talked about there leads me into something I wanted to bring up later on, but we'll bring it up now because it's a good time for it. And I wanted to ask you, and this is slightly taken from a conversation I heard on a different podcast. I don't want to rip it off too much, but where's bullet time gone? And
it's gone. Same place as the light gun game, which I'm surprised has never made a comeback on the Switch.
Yeah,
The light gun games are fantastic. Why are there no Time Crisis games on the Switch?
Tell
me that, Alex.
Why can't people make it work better than just having some kind of pointer thing that you kind of have to drag? Like it needs to be, I don't know. But the theory that one of the people on this podcast said was like, cover shooters came along, and obviously we still have cover shooters in third person now. Maybe not as much as we did.
Well, because they wouldn't announce a bloody Gears of War game.
Yeah, but maybe that seems to have been what third person games changed into from bullet time. And the questions that I guess deviate from that are, or that derived from that are, is cover shooting that much better than like jumping and diving around a room in slow motion?
No, I mean, I'm trying to think of
to have been what they are.
There's a game that you started playing. What was it? Stranglehold?
Yeah, that turned this bullet time stuff into more of like a fucking arcade score attack sort of thing.
I know Warframe does a lot of it. It does a bit of that. And then there's that game that I really want to play in a podcast. Vanquish. That was sort of straddled. That sort of straddled slow-mo bullet time and cover shooter, didn't it?
We have played a bullet time game already this year as well. Don't forget, we played Fear. Do you think that was better bullet time than Max Payne or worse? No. We did enjoy it. I remember we said about how much we enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. No, I think Max Payne's better in that regard. I don't know. You're right. It's very.
It went away. Do you think there's nowhere else you can take bullet time? In it's like.
There certainly is.
Be aggressive, jump in, shoot all the guys, and then time starts up. Like, where does it go from there? But also, where has cover shooting gone?
Nowhere really.
However many years since Gears came out, it's the same. Yeah, that's the same. So
why same thing. I wonder if it was just a sort of victim of its time and place. Because you're right, sort of cover shooting has. I wonder more like.
It's like all Matrix all the time. Let's make everything bullet time.
The industry.
Was there a Wanted game where you could like bend bullets?
Yes, great shout. I think every. I don't know. I was going to say every decade because that's not true every anymore. I'd say like every so often something comes along that just changes the industry, and we weren't far away from like Call of Duty Modern Warfare games and obviously Gears of War, which like revolutionized the third person shooter in a way. And I wonder if it just sort of came along, started this cool new mechanic, and then just got blown away. And then you know what the games industry is like Fortnite came along and everybody started being obsessed with Battle Royale. And maybe it just sort of like this was a road that people were going down, and then these games came out and just changed the way that people looked at games, and then obviously the attention just vanished from this bullet time stuff, and maybe it just never came back. That would be my guess. Because you're right, it's fun, it's engaging. There's surely more you can do. Like the wanted movie. Certainly, I haven't played the game, but you can bend bullets around the place. There's more of that you can do. Like, I want to see a game where you're like diving and you can actually see the bullets, and there's like you can invent mechanics to actually move out the way of bullets and things like that.
There's some of that in Stranglehold.
Is there?
Like it like sets you up in these like set pieces where you're rooted to the spot. And the guys are shooting at you, and you have to like move left and right, and then shoot. It's like playing Punch Out. It's really weird.
Sorry, my brain is working really, really slow, so please forgive me, listeners. Do you know what? Do you know where bullet time went and where bullet time was absolutely fucking tastic? Was that game that came out? It was a VR game, but it also came out with normal controllers. Super hot.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That's bullet time done really well in a
Yes.
modernish way. It's about 5 or 6 years old now, surely.
Yeah. That's kind of gone away as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose as well, cover shooting has kind of become more of an additional mechanic than the core mechanic for a lot of stuff.
You're right.
Like,
Yeah, spot on.
PS5 tried to make itself a bit more open world. Red Dead's got cover, but that's also open world. Mass Effect, like they're adding cover shooting into other things rather than just having a straight up game that has that in it.
We're playing a game just now in our free time, Alien Fireteam Assault. That's got a cover mechanic that I barely use.
Yeah. You get shot at a couple of levels and then don't touch it ever again.
No. Yeah, that's an interesting point, though.
And of course,
ripe for a comeback.
These are being remade. So
remade, and I think this is a remake that I'm on board with, because they're not just
both the games in one thing, isn't it? It's one.
They're remedying it. Yeah, it's more of I would from what I know of it, I would describe it more as a reimagining. They're taking what these first two games were and just making a game out of it.
Yes, it's not a remaster. So that if you go to the website at the moment, it just seems to be like a fucking big quote, and it just says Remedy Entertainment will remake the iconic Max Payne and Max Payne 2 as a single title in development agreement with Rockstar Games. So thank fuck Rockstar's not making it, because I don't know if you've played Max Payne 3, but
I played it back in the day when it came out and enjoyed it fine, but I think my critical eye has changed somewhat since I last played it, so I don't think I can have an opinion of it anymore. It's much like, I just don't really have much of a memory of it.
I was too attached to these, I think, and it hurt me in that regard.
So you don't think this time next year we're coming back with Max Payne 3 chat?
I would give it another go. I would absolutely try it again. But the main thing I didn't like about the third one was that the setting was not correct.
No, he's bald and he's gone to like Hawaii or like somewhere in Brazil. Yeah. That's somewhere really hot.
And it didn't have the comic book stuff in it at all. They took all of that out. Now,
I assume they've dumped the
I hope they don't do
Havoc
that
engine, right? Is it on? It looks like a Gears game in my memories, an Unreal game.
Maybe.
Let's have a look, because that is a wild comment I've just made based on nothing.
What you mean? Is the third one that you mean?
Yes, on Unreal Engine.
Yeah. But the reason, so I'm glad Rockstar are not heading the development, because they made.
It uses the Rage engine.
Out. Oh, okay. Is that a Rockstar thing?
Yeah, must be.
But
nah, that's an id or Bethesda thing. I'm looking up at Rage here. Is that used on the Rage? Does Rage built on the Rage engine?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. If ever there was a game that should be on the Rage engine, it's Rage.
Yeah. But I have faith that Remedy will bring the comic book panels back, where Rockstar obviously chose not to. But I hope Rockstar don't make them kick them out, because I really like that.
Where do Remedy sit
no other games like that
in the like budget power? Because I feel like if they've not quite hit, like an an IO game. Like I feel like the Hitman games are quite faithful to the old games, partly because of their work into and that forces them to be reverential in a way that they might not be if they had unlimited money. In my head, Remedy's like a double A developer, but who knows? But Alan Wake 2 seems to be.
I don't know how people feel about Control either, because I think Control probably does feel like it's more than double A.
Yeah, you're probably right. It does like ray tracing and stuff like that. I think that like
they've moved on from that fucking one with a terrible TV show in it.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I mean, we're speaking in a world where a game made by a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund company has been nominated for Indie Game of the Year. So like, it's all nonsense. It's all vibe, innit?
Yeah, but I'm really excited for the remakes of these, and maybe Bullet Time makes its comeback there, and it gets a renaissance.
Maybe
people start copying them again.
Maybe, and whoever made Time Crisis, please go make another one. Maybe it doesn't work on the new TV. Maybe is it the TVs that killed it?
The TV,
but you don't need that for the Switch.
No, but apparently that didn't really help out the House of the Dead remake that they did.
Oh, does it not good?
Because again, that's dragging a pointer across rather than aiming and something and shooting. It's more like a
Yeah,
but it's the
okay.
same as the Wii, and the Wii apparently has some good ones. We
We need the
you know,
sensor bar back.
we're coming back. We're coming obviously to the end of the year now. We will probably around the time we either do our Christmas special episode or our game of the year, we'll maybe do some mini announcements of what we're going to be playing next year.
Yeah.
I don't think Summer of Resi will get there just yet, but I do think there's merit in playing one of the Wii light gun Resi games because it's like retells the story of 2 and Code Veronica in
That'd be
a
good
light
fun.
gun version.
Yeah.
So we'll see how good light gun games have been.
Can we
since the
also
TV
like
series.
book in? Like I've seen you a couple of times this year, but we've done absolutely nothing podcast related anytime I've seen you. Maybe we should. Can we book in a trip where we actually we'll pick a co-op game that's fairly short, and we'll do our usual stuff, but we'll also tie in a game that we can play together and do a live podcast. When was the last time we did a live podcast?
What, as in sat next to each other?
Yeah.
Probably when I came to stay in Gooden with you. And
Did we
talked
do a live
about Mario
podcast then?
64.
Did we?
Yeah.
That's the
Because
one.
it's really echoey because we were in a big echoey room.
In a room, I was like, yeah, I was like, this is the first time I've ever had like a room that I can make into a geek den, and I put bloody hardwood flooring down. Biggest mistake of my life. And I've made some fucking mistakes in my life, I'll tell you that.
So he's not made it now. Podcasting with a cold might be going down as one of his mistakes if he doesn't survive my bullshit.
I'll tell you though, what I've got is I went to the shop. I was like, right, I need to get through this podcast, so I bought some minis. I was like, right, I can just dull it with alcohol. I bought some Olbus stick it up your nose. I've got some Hall
I can vouch for the
Soothers.
fact he's been using the up the nose thing while we've been recording, ladies and gentlemen.
Before we started, I took some ibuprofen, and I've taken some, well, it's Beecham's, but that's like budget Lemsip, isn't it? Yeah. And I've also got, I've got a throat spray that I've been using as well. So I am ready to go to get me through this podcast.
You are the Max Payne of podcasting.
I am, yeah. I'm just on painkillers, yeah. Every time I get topped up, Alex will just see me going off and necking some drugs, and then you'll see my level go down a little bit.
Yeah. Which actually brings me to a point of how much better the hallucination sections were in this game, or rather they were just not bullshit this time around, like the first one. No fucking blood, little lines of blood to do platforming on in the dark.
It didn't work. Sorry, that's one snorter you're going to have to edit out. I pushed the button, it didn't work, so apologies. Yes, you're right. No blood splatter, no like endless maze rooms you're going to have. I did get lost in one of the dream sections in the police station. No, I just ended up walking around not knowing where I was supposed to go. I got lost in the police station even out of the dream section.
I was about to say I got lost in the police station in the normal part as well, yeah.
Because there's like sections.
Do I do some work now? Can I tap your computer, do the paperwork?
There's like sections of that police station you can go to that the game never needs you to go to. Like the underground car park. I don't think I ever went there in the game.
But you can go there, can you?
Yeah. If you go downstairs, you can go out back and go to the underground car park, and there's policemen standing speaking that you can listen to having a chat. I think you can see your little Max Payne car that I think I remember there being in the first game. Yeah, you can go and like walk around these areas that just the game just does not need you to be.
I guess that leads into, you know, what you alluded to earlier with the things about exposition going on. Like this game definitely breaks up things in a more sophisticated and more like integrated way than the first game did. The first game it would start like a level and you'd probably get some kind of like establishing shot, and it would like then zoom in on Max, and then he would be like talking, and then the level would start. But that would basically just keep breaking itself up with the comic book panels and then go back to the game. Whereas this has a lot of in-engine cutscenes in it. The first game doesn't really have any cutscenes at all. Whereas this game has a lot of that, like chasing people down, like ducking into his car and driving after people. And so, you know, all the times the mobsters are chatting when they execute that woman near the beginning. When
I think there's two.
Cleaning
I like that there's like two occasions where he just jumps in a mobster's cleaning van and ends up at a different level.
Yeah.
I find that funny. It's like, oh yeah, we've done that. And then they just did it again. I was like, okay, that's fine.
Those cleaners are like the ultimate swerve merchants as well. I swear they start off that you think that they're working for Vinny, but then they're not working for Vinny. They're working for Vladimir Lem or whatever his name is. But then they're not working for him. They're working for the Inner Circle.
Yeah.
Like they work for everybody. And then they suddenly don't wear cleaning clothes anymore.
Talking that, when you get caught, one bit I really liked is when you get sort of caught in a mob war.
Yeah.
and they,
Well,
like some guys think you're on their side, and I just ended up shooting everyone, and then eventually people just
oh,
turn on
the
you.
fat lads who join you, like the Sopranos blokes.
Yeah, I ended up
basically.
just killing them as well, and then just like everybody was shooting at me because I think one of the gangsters came out a door to help us, and I just unloaded on him, not knowing who he was, and then they were just like, they just turned on me, so I was just like, well, you're gonna have to die too, so everybody died.
I accidentally killed that blonde guy. What was that guy's name? Like Desert Wolf or something. I don't know what his name. I can't remember what his name is now. But he starts off and he's like hiding behind some what looked like explosive barrels that he was hiding behind for cover. He's like, "Hello, Max, I will help you."
Oh
And then I ended
yeah!
up
Oh, you shot him
I shot him by accident later on.
because
Yeah.
there's a period of the game where you, like there's like a at the start of the game there's like a 3 or 4 level streak where you've got a companion if you can find them in every level.
Not
So there's
very
like
long in my case.
yeah, there's like the Russian guy who you obviously took down. Do you know what would be really cool is if when you go back to fight the Russians, if he's dead later on, or if you had killed him at the start, that would have been cool. Who knows if that's true? Yeah. Then there's like there's a bit where you're in your sort of flat. If you go down to the bottom, there's like a bum watching TV. He ends up helping you. And then there's there's like the lady in the really short leather skirt who ends up helping you in like the next level. And then later on, when you end up in the police station, she's in the police station reporting her boyfriend, who she was moaning about in the level that you meet her, and she runs about in a gun. Yeah, it sort of ties itself together quite well.
Yeah, the one in like the mini skirt. Like
Yeah,
blatant.
Is it like purpley pink top, leather mini skirt? Yeah.
Old lady with shotgun who gives you a shotgun if you ask her to.
Yeah. Well, so does she do it? Because she was like, I've got another one if you want. And then I was like raking around her flat as she was talking. And I was like, oh, I can't find it. So I just ran off.
Yeah, you have to go up to her and press X or something. And then she's like, and opens the like cupboard for you and you take it.
Very much into
You've already got it though. I already have shotguns. I don't know why she was offering, but yeah, whatever.
I'm very much into the Remedy thing that they seem to do, where they just have weird TV shows on in all their games.
This was something I was going to bring up later.
Okay,
so
well, I'll leave that.
No. We'll go for it now. Like, so you like that because obviously it mirrors.
It just sort of creates a through line that sort of links all the games to me because I know there is like a MCU version of Remedy. What is it like?
They've certainly tried to bring that into it now.
Yeah, because of we're gonna have to do Control because I've still not played that game either.
We are, aren't we? Yeah.
We're gonna have to do that. But then apparently there's Alan Wake references in Control.
Well, there's the DLC where it's all about that. But yeah, Alan Wake was like an event that they have at the bureau that the game is set in.
Right.
So
okay.
Control is like a bureau where they observe these weird phenomena, and then Alan Wake's whole thing is something they've apparently been observing as one of these phenomena.
Are they a Microsoft company now, or are they independent still, Remedy?
If they're making a game for Rockstar, I assume independent.
Must be, yeah. You're true. Yeah, that's true. I always think because I think Control's been on Game Pass since, or at least it was on at some point.
It was on PS Plus as well.
Was it? Okay. And then there's something else. Oh, they were obviously connected. They did that game with a TV show, which was part of the Microsoft TV studio that they set up back in the day.
Yeah, that is where I think you're associating them with it as a Microsoft studio. Maybe they were at that point.
I wonder if that's why. In the same way that we associated, well, maybe they are now, but at the time, we associate like Ratchet and Clank, Insomniacs with PlayStation, even though they're not.
Or even Square Enix back in the day, Nintendo, and then jumping over to Sony. But yeah, the TV shows in this. Apparently, the first game doesn't. I don't really remember too many of them, but it doesn't have as many as this, or anywhere near as many as this. This one has quite a lot of like shows that seem to follow like a seasonal format, which is apparently like a.
Did you watch any of them?
Twin Peaks. I watched some, but apparently Twin Peaks has like a TV show that they all watch, like a soap opera that they watch that kind of like is mirroring what's actually happening in Twin Peaks.
Right, okay.
Some of these shows like Lords and Ladies and maybe Address Unknown. I think that's supposed to be that's supposed to be about basically what's happening to Max.
Okay.
And Lords and Ladies is supposed to be like him and Mona's relationship kind of on a whatever. I tried to watch some of them, but I did get bored with most of it after a while.
I found that I enjoyed.
I
enjoyed that they were there. Enjoyed them for like 30 seconds, and I just sort of Max Payne myself off, mosey on the way to shoot some lads.
I did like it when there's two blokes sat there watching an episode of one at one point, and you can kind of just sort of stand behind them while they're watching the TV chat about it. and then shoot the TV out, and then they get really pissed off and you shoot them in the face.
Yeah, people don't like it when you shoot TVs.
No, there was tons of it in in Alan Wake as well. I wonder if there'll be in Alan Wake 2 for us to watch. I guess there must be, and that'll probably be because in Control there's loads as well. It's not necessarily TV shows,
Okay,
but you find loads of like actual videos of stuff from within the institute that you're in, like the scientists and stuff, and they're full proper like acted videos by real actors and stuff. And
cool.
Alan Wake 2 is going to have a lot of that in it as well, isn't it? It's going to have
Excellent.
actual TV stuff going on. So
Yeah, I
come back
sort of accidentally spoiled myself. They've got some legit actors in that game. Alan Wake 2.
Who's in it that you spoiled yourself with?
I've forgotten his name now. Idris Elba. I saw him in it.
No, I don't think I knew he was in it either. That's cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But I do, yeah. This is proper like Remedy in universe stuff, and how they're trying to thread it all together. And this like recurring, like we have loads of random TV shows with loads of bullshit going on. I do like that, especially with the Captain Baseball Bat Boy coming back later as the fucking.
Oh, he annoyed me. He annoyed
me. I know he did annoy you. He is annoying. I accidentally shot him quite a few times, and he glitched out at one point because there's a bit where some guys come down the stairs at you, and they kept shooting him up so much, or me up so much, that I ran away, and I was like hiding with him behind the thing next to the van, and then they never spawned. And I couldn't get them to come out. I kept going up the stairs and back, and they just wouldn't come out. The only way I could get them to spawn was shoot Vinny in the foot a few times, and then they would spawn. And I'd have to kill them before they then finished him off because his health was so low because of all the foot shooting I'd been doing. I had to quit. Yeah.
Oh, the foot shooting. They did well. That sort of ties in because I was like playing that sort of section, thinking this is like World War One style military tactics. Just climb over the wall and run at the person that's shooting you. Because there was quite often it was like you'd stand and watch, and people were just like slowly climbing over the wall. And you're just like, oh. B button to slow mo, shoot them before they climb over the wall. They just fall off. It's like this is terrible. You've not thought about this. Throw a grenade over the wall. Don't even need to see me.
Yeah, that the enemy placement in the first game, I felt like a lot of times it was just bullshit, and you wouldn't see where you were getting shot from.
Yeah.
And
that happened more than a few times to me. Yeah.
Yeah, the second game, sometimes they had guys above you or like just shooting you from somewhere I had no idea where they were. But I think for the large part, it's almost like the enemies were sort of placed in a... I've heard people say that they think these games are puzzle games because of the fact that it's like...
I think...
everything is over very quickly. Like you can go into a room, you can slow it down, you can take them all out sort of strategically and move on.
That is true.
And there's trial and error and there's save states that's actually inherently like in the game. It's not... PC hack. It's like they want you to do quick saving to try and redo everything.
Yeah,
but
that is true.
Again, if you compare it to a cover shooter as well, like that's more of a tactical shooting experience, whereas this is just like
I feel like you could call any game a puzzle game.
Yeah, you probably can.
I don't
think I agree with it.
No, that to me sounds. I can understand where they're coming from and what they're saying. I think that statement sounds like someone thinking, let me twiddle my moustache and think about how I can sound intelligent when I'm talking about a video game. It's a puzzle game. In the same way people call the Souls games puzzle games. I mean, I get what you're saying, but it is not a puzzle game. That's more of a puzzle game, by the way, than Max Payne is, but I still don't think it's a puzzle game.
I think the fact that this game, the way that the bullet time makes you stronger and quicker than your enemies, certainly made it, as we've already said, it made it way easier than the first game.
So much easier.
In being easier, it therefore kind of makes you... To me, it made me feel more like the Max Payne I look back and think of Max Payne as being than the first game, where I felt like in the first game and take cover and run away and
sorry mate
everything felt
sorry
like
mate, can you
surviving.
Stop, can you rewind? You said I felt like in the first game and then you stopped
and then you suddenly like sped back at must be Walden internet. I felt like I had to be a lot more cautious in the first game.
I agree.
Whereas like I had to sort of really assess and like run away and hide from a lot of the time and like desperately searching for healing all the time. Whereas this game really just wanted you to do stuff in slow motion and look cool doing it and have fun and just blow the shit out. The first game was way more of a slow paced, like, shit, I'm getting battered. I need to think about what I'm doing.
Come back and go again, figure out how you're going to go into the room. I think actually that is, so again, like to wind back to what I said earlier, that I felt like this when I was playing it at some point. Is this like Max Payne 1.2? I think to actually maybe put that into a bit more of a coherent thought, as you were saying that, it made me think it's almost like someone had a meeting before they started making Max Payne 2 and thought, what did people like about Max Payne? What are people's standout memories? And they've just built on that and made a better version of that. Because as you were talking about that made me think of the section in the warehouse area down the docks where there's like the sniper section. There seems to be a lot
playing as Mona.
Yeah, there's a lot more variety in the first game, for good and bad. Whereas to me in this game there is just the Max Payne thing that you know and love again and ratcheted up a wee bit, I think.
Interesting. I would have probably thought the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Because you've got, like I say, you've got the bits where you're playing as Mona. You've got that bit where you're covering.
You do play as Mona, that sniper section. I'll take I'll take your point with that sniper section. I would say the rest of it is just more of the same. Like the Mona sections are largely just Max Payne sections, but you've got a Mona character. Other than that section, there's you're right. There's like the haunted mansion madhouse thing, but there are versions of that in the game. And actually, other than sort of set piece design, I'm not sure how that really changes how you're interacting with the game.
That's what I'm saying. Sorry, yeah. I guess that's what I'm saying is that there felt like there were more set pieces and there were more varied locations than just like underground stations or corridors.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that.
But yeah, you're right. The way the game plays out, it's the same.
Yeah.
Other than this game has a lot more bits where you're walking around not shooting. You're walking around a police station getting lost or talking to Mona or whatever. Like it wanted to tell the story a bit more dynamically, as I mentioned earlier, rather than just shoot stuff, comic, shoot stuff. This was like shoot stuff, comic, walk about for a bit.
It felt like again to sort of build on what you were talking about earlier. Why it's interesting that you were talking about how they had gone away and got some writing chops, because there feels like there's pacing to this game. It's not just on off on off on off. There is a sort of there's a rise and fall. There's a cadence to the action in the game that the first game doesn't have.
Do you like the story in this game? Do you prefer it, or do you not like it at all?
I don't want to be harsh.
You'd obviously like me. I did feel the same way you did, where like I'd forgotten kind of what the fuck had actually happened. I didn't even see the previously bit in the game menu. I looked it up on the thing, and I looked up on the Max Payne wiki and was like, Max says this himself. When? You didn't fucking say this. And then I realised I have to select it in the menu. But that whole Alfred Woden thing confused the shit out of me for a long time. Just like, so he let Max Payne off, but he was also the guy who like got his family killed, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the game, he's kind of not on your side, but he is a little bit. And then he gets out of a wheelchair and dies because he tries to strangle Vladimir.
And that lady cop,
she was having a relationship with the Russian, wasn't she?
Yeah, her being naughty was telegraphed about way downtown. Like you could see that coming for weeks. As soon as you were in the police station and you answer her phone for her, you're like, oh, she's not good. But he does
definitely shoot her. That's not hallucinate. He shoots her.
Yeah, I think so.
And he goes to hospital because Vlad shoots him.
He doesn't kill her. He just sort of shoots her down. Then she shoots him off the edge of a building. Does she not?
Oh yeah. Because it's like he doesn't go to prison for it. He says that I'm a cop killer because he's looking around.
Yeah, he is.
He's like,
I assume that the police must figure out that she was bent.
I guess so. I mean, I could probably look.
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
For the story, but
to sort of finish your question though.
Yeah.
There's like parts of the first. I think to me the peaks of the first game were better than the peaks, perhaps the peaks of the story in this game. Like I remember there's the whole sort of first third of the game in the first one where the police are hunting you because they think you're the murderer.
Yes.
And you're simultaneously there's like
and then you're working for him in this one.
Yeah, Condemned.
The cop who's hunting you, work for him.
Bit of Condemned criminal origins about the sort of early stages of Max Payne, and I really like that sort of
Very true.
policeman that's had his whole family murdered, and people also think he's a killer, so he's being hunted, but also trying to solve the crime at the same time. There's layers to that one that I think this one maybe doesn't have, but then there's the sort of character development in the second one, and
That's
the
what
love
this
interest
has.
stuff. Yeah,
That's what this. Yeah, he
yeah.
wanted to write. He made a big deal about it's a noir love story, and this everybody in this is great. Every single person in it is great.
Mhm.
Vladimir is great because even he says at the end, doesn't he? Like,
He gives you a lift
well,
somewhere, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
he's obviously going to turn on me.
yeah, but we because we kill Winterson, which is Vlad's girlfriend. So then Vlad's
Good
like,
point.
well, fuck you, I have
Good
to kill
point.
you. You killed my girlfriend. I wish I didn't, but now I'm gonna have to shoot you in the face.
Good
And
point.
then he does. And then he
Is
kills
that why he
Mona.
does it? Because there's a bit where Vlad gives you a lift somewhere, and he goes like, "What would you do if you knew you had to do something, but you also knew you would?" He was like, it basically to me it alluded to the fact that he was going to do something that
Yes.
turned him and Max against each other.
Yeah, definitely. It's not quite like the first game where he just basically kept showing up in cars and giving Max lifts when he really needed to get out somewhere. Like, hello, it's me again. Shall I run through? Let's run through the story then.
Yeah,
so we
mate,
can
let's
kind
do
of
it. Let's do it.
quick chat about it because there's bits I'm forgetting. Hang on, where the fuck's it gone? It's gone. Right. So yeah, this is set 2 years after the first game. This is from the Max Payne fandom wiki, by the way, so it's not my own note. So you start off, obviously, you're investigating these murders that are done by the cleaners, because that's when he goes to this warehouse, I guess. I think it is, isn't it? And then you find that Mona Sachs is there, and she kills loads of them for you, and she's wanted for the murder of this senator. So she gets arrested for that murder that she's wanted for, and obviously Max is very attracted to her. He thinks that she was dead from the first game because she gets shot in the lift, and then
But it's a
lift is empty.
twin sister that gets killed in the lift. Is that how she's still alive?
No, her twin sister gets killed in the first game before that.
Right. Okay. So there's talk about her having a bullet in her head, but it's not clear whether that's an actual bullet or a metaphorical bullet.
I think it must be an actual one then, if she did get shot, because apparently there was an initial story arc where Mona did die in the first game, and people, some of the writing stuff were like, no, you can't do that, let's leave it ambiguous. But apparently they also got like hate mail for killing her in this game as well. Like, people were not happy about her dying. And there's a if you beat the game on the highest difficulty, she doesn't die, which is shit.
Oh, so she's not dead then, basically.
I think
the canonical.
She should be dead, because the whole point of this is that there's no happy endings in film noir, and the whole point of it was around Max losing everything. She can't just be not dead. That's the whole point.
Maybe we'll find out in Max Payne 3 if she makes an appearance, because I cannot remember.
I think it's apparently there is an illusion in 3 that she dies. I can't remember.
Right,
but
okay.
I think I read somewhere that like that seems to have been what they decided is canonical, because yeah, she's dead in 3, or something's mentioned. So yeah, while you're at the station, it gets attacked by the cleaners, who they're looking for Mona. She breaks out, and then you go meet her again at her weird. She's living in the abandoned film set.
Yeah, weird fun fair.
Funhouse. Funhouse that's set up to be one of the TV shows. I think it's the one that's cancelled. The Address Unknown, I think. It's supposed to be related to that, like it was the set of that or something.
Do you know what? Actually, that shower scene made me want to play. Was Indigo Prophecy / Fahrenheit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a shower scene in that?
I think so. Yeah. If not, it's another game. It's the Jason. There's definitely a shower scene in that one.
Oh, there's a shower. Yeah, but that's him, isn't it?
Yeah, just as sexy.
I just want to watch I'll just go watch the episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns comes to stay and he gets out of the shower and then makes Marge paint him naked.
I'll tell you, David Cage cannot write a fucking story to save his life. I don't know how he's managed to fashion that man is a charlatan.
Yeah, somebody should have told him to go get some fucking writing lessons after his first game. So, yeah, Max goes to meet her at this weird place. The cleaners have followed him there. And then they basically they kill the cleaners that have come to attack them and then go after them themselves. this is where they, after you've kind of had a big fight with the cleaners at the construction site, where this is where you play as Mona as trying to snipe and help Max out, which I actually think was quite weak. That section, it was like
I got
Max
lost
kept saying,
and nothing happened.
"Yeah, I didn't see where they are," and then when I found the guys, there was like 2 of them. It's like, really, Max, you can't handle 2 of them? I've been handling like rooms of 20 blokes a minute ago. That's where Winterson then obviously finds you. She then comes back and saying,
quite like how they tie that together. That was quite fun. I mean, it wasn't like, don't get me wrong, this is not like Oscar level writing, but like they sort of, I like how you can see the characters moving around, and then there's a bit where you're Max Payne, you're talking to Mona, and she says a couple lines, and then you're playing again as Mona, and she says the lines that she says to Max.
Yeah,
and I like how that sort of sets the timeline. I enjoyed that.
I mean, you look at the start of the game. One of the first, I think, the first line of the game is her saying, "I've become such a damsel in distress," or something like that.
Oh yeah, you're right. I was watching that before we started recording. Yeah.
There's loads of like the comic book shots near the beginning of the game when he's talking to Mona, where it looks like they're standing up and he's talking to her face to face, but this is actually the shot of her at the end of the game when she's lying on the floor.
Oh
dying.
shit! Didn't click on that.
Flip the perspective, so there's some cool callbacks.
My brain didn't click that. That's great.
Yeah, it's like it does kind of. I think they even said that they wanted people to have like replays of this game to kind of figure out what's going on, because there's somewhere as well there's stuff like drawings on the wall of their fucking Captain Baseball Bat Boy's outfit with TikTok Boom written on it or something like that. There's like loads of foreshadowing going on, and the way that I guess the narrative is chopped and changed, and what are they, non-linear, I guess. Probably like lends itself to figuring out more the second time around.
This game, I see in second pass, this game doesn't get the respect it maybe deserves for that. I don't think it ever gets talked about. This Max Payne certainly doesn't, and Max Payne 2 definitely doesn't get talked about from a narrative perspective. It's all about the bullet time. It does have a bit of decent narrative to it.
Yeah, better than the first game. Narrative wise,
I think you're spot on with that.
In the construction and as you said there earlier, the characterization is far better. So Winterson, obviously she holds Mona at gunpoint. She then tells Max that Winterson's there to kill her, and then Winterson says, "No, I'm just trying to arrest you." And then Max just shoots Winterson, which allows Mona to escape. And then Winterson shoots Max, as you said, and Max falls off the building and then gets hospitalized. Which as you said, must be the point where he was like, "Yeah, the reason I shot Winterson is because she's working with the whatever."
Yeah.
So don't arrest me and let me leave, because he kind of just escapes the hospital, I suppose, doesn't he?
Yeah, he sort of runs off. Yeah. Who's the guy at the start of the game who gets shot and killed in the hospital with the glasses? I never figured that out. And you open the lift and he's like, "Max Payne, you did it," and then he just gets shot.
That's the NYPD guy, isn't it? Is that real, or is that him imagining?
Who knows with this game, man?
Yeah. I remember thinking that was odd, that it looked like
he
shot the NYPD chief.
I just couldn't remember who he was.
I'm almost certain that's who that's supposed to be, Jim Bravura or whatever his name is. Anyway, maybe I don't know.
Sorry, I derailed that.
Yeah, after Max leaves the hospital, he then gets kidnapped by Vladimir Lem, and he learns that apparently at this point the cleaners work for him. And then he learns that Vlad is part of the inner circle, which is obviously where Alfred Woden was in the previous game. Obviously, in the previous game, I think Woden was having a sort of a civil war in the inner circle with that Nicole Horn.
Yeah, I think you're right. Killing. Yeah, like she's like a politician of some kind, is she?
Yes.
I think I was in chats to you calling her senator, but I don't remember what she was. But I just remember she was some kind of politician. Because it was just because the whole story was like the conspiracy goes right to the top.
Nicole Horn, president. Oh, she's the president of the corporation that made the Valkyrie drugs.
She's not a politician at all. Speaking of Mars.
Yeah, she's president of Acer Corporation, responsible for the production of the drug Valkyrie. You also learn at this point that Vlad wanted to kill Woden. They're both, yeah, so they're both part of the inner circle, and again, there seems to be some sort of civil war going on. Vlad wants to kill him. Max also learns that Mona was hired by Woden to kill Vlad and Max. And then we also find out at this point that Winterson was having a relationship with Vlad, which is why Vlad then says he has to kill Max and shoots him, leaving him for dead. Mona rescues him.
Winterson.
And then they both go to Woden's mansion to try and save him from Vlad. There's this weird part, obviously, where Mona then kind of knocks Max over in an attempt to try and deal with the orders that she has to kill him, but then she can't because she has feelings for him, and that's obviously part of the love story angle. Vlad then shoots Mona, realizing that she's not going to kill Max. Woden appears, gets out of his wheelchair, as I said earlier, and tries to go for Vlad, but he gets killed during that. And then you have a big old fight with Vlad, who triggers a bomb that he planted in the mansion. And eventually Max catches up with Vlad and kills him, and then goes back to Mona's side, but she dies as the police arrive. And apparently it says here on the wiki, which ending is canon was initially up for debate until Max Payne 3's release, though it is commonly believed that she dies, as that is what occurs on the default difficulty.
Right, okay.
There's a lot of like double crossing going on in this. There's a lot of, internal sort of fighting between people who are supposedly on the same side.
Yeah.
People are untrustworthy throughout. Like I said, everybody's supposed to be grey. I do like the story.
Yeah, I agree. It's fine.
Yeah,
totally fine. I mean,
it probably went further when it came out. Gaming narrative has been delivered in so many different ways.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. Gaming narrative has come a long, long way since, like, I don't know. I'm sure this wasn't the game, but in my mind, gaming narratives started to grow up around Metal Gear Solid and and you're right, by 2003, that probably is a good story. Maybe by 2023, it's quite basic, but that doesn't take away like the building blocks for what we've got today. And actually, it was pretty good, I think.
A large part of the story is obviously the way it's presented in this sort of cool, like dripping with film noir style.
It's very noir. How do you think it's noir compares to the one that keeps jumping in my head, LA Noir? Because I remember the ending annoyed me in LA Noir, but I think maybe I'm a bit more of an adult now and understand what noir is. It is more noir, isn't it?
That was certainly a lot less. I mean, I know there was subject matter was quite gritty, but obviously Max Payne is an incredibly bleak at times, very gritty game, whereas LA Noir is, at least for a large part of it, just you being a policeman.
What annoyed me about it, and maybe it's something that would annoy me about the noir genre then, if that's what they do. But you die at the end of the game in LA Noir. Sorry, spoilers, and nothing changes.
You have to fight for a bit, don't you?
Yeah. So I just kind of feel like I die at the end of the game. Nothing actually changes. So what was the point of the game?
Yeah, because he die when confronting somebody about.
Yeah, like I in my memory of it, like he doesn't sort out the corruption. The corruption continues in a different form. Yeah. Like doesn't actually clean anything out. He just dies, tries to solve corruption.
Who's ever been able to solve that though, huh?
Well, we've just been talking about the video game industry and stuff.
Yeah.
So, exactly. Yeah, maybe we're living in the noir timeline of the video game industry. It's all bad.
I mean, I've heard people say that the way that this game kind of breaks up the action and does more of the expositional stuff and like the walking and like interacting with things served as more of a catalyst for what we see for things like Uncharted, like, oh, press X to pet this fucking yak in the Nepal or whatever it is.
Press X to pay respects that Call of Duty does.
Yeah, like, and, the way that like God of War does it as well. Like a lot of how cinematic elements have been woven into games these days in engine as the gameplay is continually just moving through the gears. that this was one of those sort of pioneering things that this game did that we don't, again, give it enough respect for. I don't know what... I'd need to see more of what was around at the time and go back and think about it to decide if I agree with them, like purposely giving us downtime in between the action to give exposition, and whether that was one of the sort of...
Well, yeah, you're right. Was that new? I mean, because like, I think that existed in Halo, which would have been...
That's the one thing that keeps coming into my head as well.
Yeah.
Halo, yeah.
Like, it's the second level, I remember. So you crash land onto the actual Halo planet, then there's that period of quiet, and then you fight your way up the hill, and then you encounter like an alien outpost or a human outpost, and then there's like the walking around there, getting the exposition, then you get attacked. And maybe it is, though. Just because it wasn't the first doesn't mean it didn't move it on. Let's
have a look at the video game draft, because that will tell us like a few years before. So 2001. I mean, obviously you've got the Metal Gear games. They probably were more like that, although they're kind of...
I think they're like gameplay cutscene. Yeah. And then how they break it up is they have the little radio dude at the bottom. No, they don't. I'm talking rubbish. They cut to black. That's a cutscene, isn't it, with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's gameplay cutscene. Doesn't weave the two.
And then 2002, obviously you got Grand Theft Auto has been around at this point for a long time, but again, that's just kind of like...
That's gameplay cutscene as well.
They tell you stuff and then
or
you leave.
Driving a car while you get essentially a BioShock style recording played at you.
Yeah.
While you drive to a location.
I'm not seeing a lot of stuff in these old lists. We've got a lot of like Metroids and Zeldas and Tom Clancy games and FPS games. Like, I'm not seeing a whole heap of stuff here.
I don't remember what Splinter Cell did. The first one. Don't remember that. It's been too long since I played it.
Maybe that was a good point that I heard somebody make about how...
Yeah, it sounds it.
Like the way that games have kind of like, here's a bit of downtime, go interact with things and listen to people talking in a quieter moment before the action comes back is something that Max Payne 2 deserves more credit for than it gets.
It does, because people always... I think... Maybe it's just me, but I feel like the thing that Max Payne, the series, is remembered for is bullet time.
Yeah.
Diving and shooting is what this game is remembered for. When actually, upon closer inspection, it maybe does a little bit more than that, which is nice.
Yeah. I would say, bullet time and the comic book stuff, I think, is what I would, the two things I would always remember it for.
Yeah.
And they're both things that no one has ever really done together, at least since, and certainly not the comic book stuff. So I am very, very interested to see what this materializes as in the remakes, which I am also buzzing for, because these games are very unique. There's nothing like it anymore.
Not really.
They still handle very nicely as well, like especially this one. The third one was such a letdown for me that
it just didn't feel like it came from the same place that these games came from.
It was like Rockstar looking at it and going, right, let's give some like reverence to this, but let's also make it our thing, and we'll Rockstar the shit out of it. And they Rockstarred the shit out of it, which I didn't want them to do. Yeah.
Good game though, and very much enjoyed it. I think I mentioned at the start, it's got a Metacritic of 83. That feels
less than the first game.
What do you know what the Metacritic is for the first game?
Couple higher, like 86 or something.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I always struggle with these things.
I had it in 2001.
I generally struggle with these things.
89.
Okay. I generally struggle with these things and trying to think of the game in its time and place, because it's like the Mario Galaxy 2 thing. Like, Mario Galaxy 2 is a far, far better game, but also it's inherently less impressive because it is building on what the first game pioneered. So how do you actually discuss that in a comparative way? I think it's quite a difficult thing, because like I say, I think I agree with you. This game's more coherent. The story's better. The character development's better. It has looked at what made Max Payne good and built upon that. It has removed a lot of the issues I had with the first game, but at the same time, like I said before, at some point it waned and went away, but there was that point when I was playing the game and I was like, this is just more Max Payne.
Except it's easier and shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's tough.
To an extent there,
yeah, it's tough to try and parse through. So you're saying, like, from a gameplay perspective, yeah, it is a better game, but it is less impressive.
I mean, it had a bigger budget behind it.
Uh-huh.
It had shorter development time, but you can tell that I think the choices that they made with the budgetary enhancement were the right choices to have made.
Do you think the travel into the ghetto and hiring bodyguards has made the comic, they are infinitely better.
The comic books panels in this are, like I said, they are beautiful. Like, to look at even now, they look so stylish, so cool. Like, they're just all the rain effects going on in them, and like loads of different sort of layering textures on top of each other. The acting is better in them as well because the guys know how to act. They're not just a game developer and his dad. So all of that, yeah, far better.
There is a video game developer around the Xbox 360 era that got sent to location to take pictures of a location, and they ended up getting arrested and put in prison, I think, at least for a set period of time.
Right.
And I cannot remember what that game is. And it's been annoying me for about half an hour. So, if you're listening to this podcast and you know who that development team are, can you please tell me and tell me what happened?
Is it like we went to North Korea?
It's something like mad like that, and they got arrested for basically taking pictures of things they shouldn't be taking pictures of.
Yeah, and I want to know that now. Maybe by the next podcast we'll have found
and
the
we can answer it.
Tell everybody, yeah,
maybe. Yeah, if you were, this is the unanswerable question, right? But I'm going to ask it anyway. If you were reviewing this game in a professional capacity, is it 8 out of 10 where you would settle? Because that's where the Metacritic's. Do you think the Metacritic's correct? I think I would probably agree with you.
I think when this came out, I probably would have been 9, but yeah, I think 8 out of 10 nowadays. It's there's really, other than the fact that it just looks a bit dated, and we've got better physics engines to play with these days, and games are longer.
Yeah,
I guess there's not really much that it does wrong, really.
Interested to see, maybe one day we've played all the Remedy games that we can do a podcast ranking the Remedies.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Yeah, that would be good fun.
I just think Max Payne is just so cool. It's
cool.
been sorely missed. Like, it's like the New York noir setting, the comic book stuff, him doing the monologues and talking with all these like metaphors and stuff, how gritty it is, like shooting people in slow motion, gangs and drugs and all that kind of shit. Like, it's just very, very stylish and cool. What a shame that film was so wanky.
I've seen it, but I don't remember it.
Yeah,
don't remember it at all.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got the guy from Ted in it, right?
Mark.
Yeah.
Oh, and Meg from Family Guy.
Does it?
What's her name? Mila Kunis.
Remember she went out with Macaulay Culkin? She went out with Macaulay Culkin. Yeah.
Okay.
There's your random factoid, in addition to the Kanye West chat that we had earlier on in the podcast.
Yeah, David, you're on the absolute. You got your finger on the pulse of celebrity happenings
of early 2000s.
Yeah.
American pop culture. Yeah, nailed that.
Yeah. It's appropriate, topical for the podcast.
It is. Have you any more to talk topical and reference a podcast that used to be good?
No. That's all I had for Max Payne 2. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was very, very short.
Yes, it was so short, and it was over in a blink of an eye. There is a good thing to that, though. I would rather it. Ricky Gervais is always a person I remember about this. Like, get out while people still want more. Don't stay around too long till people fall off. And the Walking Dead TV show is the one for me that always sticks out. Is like that overstayed as well. Maybe they actually finished the comic book, so I wish I knew how it finished, because I fell off as well. I sort of fell off about 3 or 4 volumes after Glenn got his face panned in.
I think I did. Yeah, just when Negan came along, I think is when I probably dropped off that.
Yeah, I think I think the last volume I read of that, maybe I didn't actually. It was, I think, either. What was the kid called? Can you remember? Carl. Yeah, I think he was like in Negan's get up. In Negan's, like, I don't know, what do you call it, his house?
Yeah.
And then I don't think I read any more than that.
Yeah, that's probably about where I got to. It's like something like 20 odd.
Yeah. Anyway,
there was a time where I would be like with bated breath waiting for the next Walking Dead.
I loved The Walking Dead. Was obsessed with the comic book for a while. TV show, I don't think I ever was really that much into.
No, I sat through a couple of seasons, but it really was not good.
Yeah, it was more I just did it because I liked I was like, oh, the source material, I should like this. Then I was ever actually ever engaged. Tell you what, that lady can only act one way, and it's stunned shocked.
Oh, what is his wife?
Yeah,
Rick's wife.
Yeah, because in Prison Break, that's all she does as well. It's like shocked stare.
So annoyed.
Yeah.
It was around that era though. This was like, I guess my introduction to comic books in like my early 20s or whatever was like when I suddenly started to understand anybody who had ever said, "Oh, the film's not as good as the book." Because previously I'd be like, "What are you talking about? Books are shit. Films are wicked." And then once I'd read like Scott Pilgrim, and then I'd read Walking Dead, and I started to see things like them bring to life things that have been in my head. Like, why is the guy that plays Carl such a whiny little bitch? He's not a bitch in my head. But now I hate him, and I don't care if he gets a hole in his face.
Have you seen any movies recently since we may be about to dabble in that? I think I said it to you over text. I went to go see Thanksgiving at the cinema over to the end of last week, over the weekend. That is as expected. It's a teen slasher that is every bit as stupid and shallow as you would expect, but I had a perfectly good time watching it. We were talking about watching the Alien movies as well, which we may need to do since we're playing the Alien game. Especially Aliens, because that feels like what that game feels like. That game feels more Aliens than Alien.
No, it's called Aliens.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Have I watched any films recently?
Well, you're still looking. I'm just going to keep talking. I've started watching Yellowstone.
It's annoying though, because I'm trying to listen to you while looking at films.
Sorry.
I can't pay attention.
I'll shut my face.
I don't think I have. Mostly just like re-watching over and over and over again Studio Ghibli films that Cassie's into now.
What one have you been watching? Good. Have you watched I think it's a Studio Ghibli one with the cats, where she saves a cat from getting run over and it ends up in like a cat land. That's the one that I remember. I'm sure that's Studio Ghibli.
It probably is. I don't know what that is though.
And then she falls in love with a cat, and I was like, oh, I don't know if you're sexually attracted to a cat is weird.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's funny. I was reading this article today because I'm playing Yakuza 4, and it's obviously written by a female, and she did a deep dive into every mini game in the Yakuza series, and any time that any of them involved like dressing up a hostess or anything, she's like, I fucking hate this. It's treating women as objects. It's like, yeah, I know.
Have you ever seen a video game?
Japan really does do this. Japan has these places that are real. They have hostess clubs where they make their women dress up, and someone's probably dressed them up and told them to go out there and make a man happy. So yes, you're pissed off that the Japanese developers of a game set in Japan are doing things that are in Japan that objectify women, but don't have a go at Yakuza for that. That's actually realistic.
I would also say, have you ever played a video game? I think every human, regardless of gender, is objectified and sexualized. Like, have you ever seen a human cat? Like look at the state of the six packs you get in video games. Like, 99% of men don't have those. This is objectification.
There's another one apparently in number 6 where you get to go work out in a gym, and she wrote something like, "Oh well, at least there was an excuse to look at a shirtless Kiryu for a few minutes." What the fuck is this?
Jesus fucking Christ!
Double standards, god damn you! But yeah, I mean, it was just annoying to like, okay, yeah, I get it. You don't like that Japanese people ogre women in hostess clubs, but that's a Japan thing. It's not a Yakuza game. Anyway, whatever.
Maybe there's another there's plenty of podcasts we do over the Christmas period, but maybe we can dip into games that we didn't play for a podcast, so you can tell me about these Yakuza games.
Yeah, okay.
Because that sounds
What
fun.
were we talking about? What were we talking about before?
I was asking you what movies you had watched.
Oh yeah. So yeah, just My Neighbor Totoro a lot, and Kiki's Delivery Service. She's obsessed with those two films now.
Not bad. Not bad movies to get your daughter into. It's better
I feel
than
like
like.
at 2 years old to watch Japanese animation, I'm doing all right. I'm doing quite well.
Is
there.
she into Bluey? Because that's one thing.
Oh yeah, she's too young.
Right. Okay. Because I am not. Don't get me wrong. I am not. Aware of Bluey. I was watching that. I've been sort of dabbling in that Second Wind. You know the
Yes.
Yahtzee dude, the spin-off. And he played Bluey, and he was talking about how much he likes Bluey, the TV show, but the game was awful.
People do seem to like Bluey a lot. They seem to like the dad quite a lot in Bluey.
Right, okay.
Apparently, it's
I
like
had
a good dad.
Joel, who you were speaking to earlier today. He was a big fan of Peppa Pig back in the day. He says there's a lot of sort of adult jokes hidden in amongst that.
I read an article recently talking full on shit about Peppa Pig and how she's an arrogant little twat who just like bullies her little brother and always is just rude and horrible. And then it was going on about like how her dad's a complete like an oaf who gets everything wrong and his whole family bullies him. And whereas Bluey's dad is just like a proper chill dude who's just a really good dad. So that was when I suddenly started to think maybe Peppa Pig needs to have a bit more reassessment from me, because Cassie does like that. But
it was the one I remember. I remember watching one with his son, and it was there was like a farmer was going about, and he thought he had heard a noise out by his chickens, and he went out to his chickens to see what was going on, and there was like Mr. Fox was out there, and he was like, "What are you doing out here, Mr. Fox?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just out for a walk." He's like, "Yeah, bet you are." I was a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's probably fine, really, I guess. But
I mean, what did we watch when we were kids? I was trying to think, like Super Ted, Thunderbirds.
Yeah, I was made to watch Thunderbirds and like Captain Scarlet. My dad was big into that.
Captain Scarlet, yeah, Joe 90 as well. I got from my dad.
I mean, I was just massive into Turtles.
Turtles, good one. Rugrats.
All I wanted to watch was Turtles. Bucky O'Hare.
Oh, Bucky O'Hare. Yes.
Biker Mice from Mars.
Oh, yes. Bucky O'Hare was my favourite show. Whenever it was
Bucky, I had loads of the toys from Bucky O'Hare.
Blinky, Bruiser, the two I remember. Dead-Eye Duck is another one.
Yeah, Bucky O'Hare was cool.
Tony, with his wee porn, he went through a period he was rebuying Bucky O'Hare toys, so he's got a bunch in his house, yeah.
I bet you my parents have hoarded those in the loft. I bet you I've still got them somewhere.
You need to.
I liked Ghostbusters a lot. I liked the car. I had like all the car and stuff. I really wanted the Ghostbusters tower where you could.
I had the tower. Yeah, I didn't have the car, but I had the tower. Because it had a hole in the middle, and you could like drop slime on the top, and it would like drip through the middle.
That's awesome. Thundercats.
Thundercats.
I had a Crash Test Dummies car. I don't think
I loved Crash Test Dummies, but it was always like friends that had this stuff, but the toys were really cool just because they exploded. Were you ever into Mad Max, which is like Boys Polly Pocket?
No, that's not what it was called.
What was it called?
Mighty
Max. Mighty Max. Mad Max.
Mad Max. Not when I was a kid.
Mad Max is a great film. A reboot that did a good job.
Oh, what a great film! If we play the Mad Max game for our film fest thing that we're doing next year.
Maybe we need to go fall down a Mad Max hole. Yeah,
because that's got Batman Arkham sort of combat in it, hasn't it?
It does indeed. It's got car combat as well, which is unusual in video games. That's
a dead genre, that's for sure.
Yeah, Vigilante 8 is the last time. Well, Mario Kart.
We're not doing Carmageddon and watching the Carmageddon. Not Carmageddon. Fucking
WWE Crush Hour.
No. What's the one with Samoa Joe in it?
Oh, Sweet Tooth. It's got Sweet Tooth in it.
That's who he plays.
It's not Vigilante. It's and he drives a ice cream truck.
Yep.
Our 5 listeners are going to be screaming at us.
No, they're not, because they won't even hear this. Right there, just like
yeah. Vigilante. No, I keep wanting to say Vigilante. Sweet Tooth. There's a TV show, Sweet Tooth. I assume they're not linked, right?
I don't think so.
Because it's like a wee boy that looks like he's got like deer antlers. Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal. I wasn't gonna get that.
No, I wouldn't have got there.
It wasn't coming in. That's nowhere near as close as I thought it was.
No. Well, I suppose that brings us to the end of this episode. Alex, before actually, do I have it? I don't think I've written it in here. So, what have we got up next?
Alan Wake 2.
Is that going to be the next episode? Have we got anything in between coming up?
We can do if we need longer to play it.
Probably do. I assume that's not a short game.
We were also planning to do a ranking of every major home console. Is that how we were going to do it? Or was it handhelds as well?
Is that what we're doing?
Surely not. That would be fucking mad.
I can't help with handhelds, really. I could help with PSP.
And that. For the... hang on, let's find it. What it was called. Because I've got a tab for it. What did I put in it? Console ranking. No handhelds.
What are we doing? Ranking the consoles themselves?
Yes. Every
Excellent
console idea. From Nintendo, Sony, Sega, and Microsoft, we're gonna rank them. I think we need to think about. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. I guess obviously the legacy of it, the library, our memories, maybe business decisions and marketing and hype.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to be doing a lot of research into that, just to figure out launch lineups as well. We're going to it's going to be really fun to talk about it. We've got a lot of consoles to rank. I could probably figure out top 5 already for me, but whether we agree on that,
guess we'll find out.
We'll come to a consensus. We'll build a list together. I think I know what we'll probably both pick as number 1, so I think we're pretty safe there. From the NES and the Master System all the way up to the Xbox Series and Switch and PS5.
You can cut this, but if there's anyone that wants to, no issue, quite happy with people joining us for any listicles we're making. If you ever wanted, if you want to do a cross, so if there's anyone that's not got the old blinkers on in the Sega pod, you want to draft over. Might be a good crossover. I was going to say KDB, but he's in the other one, so probably should spread our wings a wee bit.
We could probably do another draft with him.
Yeah.
Before the end of the year. Are you basically free every Tuesday now?
Yeah.
I mean, so 12, 19. So we've got 2 more this year because we're not going to record on Boxing Day.
No.
So we've got 2 more Tuesdays. So we've got something, then Alan Wake, and then Game of the Year.
That'll be fun.
All right, let's do the console ranking next then.
Yeah.
And then Alan Wake 2, and then Game of the Year.
Yeah, it should be good fun. I don't have a podcast anymore that does a good old Game of the Year, so this is your one-stop shop to come and get some Game of the Year chat, even though we won't actually be talking about games of 2023. We'll be talking about...
We will be talking about...
The winner is you games of 2023.
Which will include, from the year 2023, the Dead Space remake, the Resident Evil 4 remake, Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun, and Mario Wonder and Alan Wake 2.
Oh, Mario Wonder might be in with a shout.
Yeah.
Interested to see how that goes. That was a utterly wonderful time I had with Mario Wonder.
Yeah. Not to mention other games like Donkey Kong Country.
Oh man, so good.
Shadow Complex.
That's actually
Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah,
we did that this year.
I guess we'll save it for the actual looking back at the year pods. But very much enjoyed the sort of rabbit holes we allowed ourselves to fall down at periodic times throughout this year. Yeah. The Donkey Kong one was great. Then we did the Mario World. Was that this year where we did Mario All Stars, and then we did the Wario, which is was that not like a follow-up to a Mario game that we played?
No, that was the year before. We did
it?
Mario Land 2 and Wario Land.
Ah, that's it. And then we had the
alien
hole that I fell down the year before as well.
Yeah.
We've fallen down a bit of Remedy hole this year, I feel like.
Because we did towards the end.
Yeah, we've done
Alan Wake, Max Payne 2 and an Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
But we kind of briefly sort of mentioned it a second ago when we were talking about films we've watched. But yeah, we are planning, as David, I don't know if David actually, it was on the pod, I don't remember if it was on the podcast or not. but David has been talking about potentially wanting to chat films more. So we are going to introduce every year now in February Film Fest, where we will pick a film licensed game or a licensed game of some kind that's maybe not necessarily to do with a film, but then we will also watch a film from that license.
Yes.
And you'll get like half an hour of film chat and like an hour of game chat. So we're going to... what would you... I mean, we're probably realistically going to get minimum 2, maximum 3. If you had to pick one right now, what's your feelings? What do you really want to either play or watch, and then be forced to play?
I cannot, since we've started doing this podcast again, I cannot get Batman Arkham Asylum in my head. So I'd quite like to slap in a Batman. It would be quite a good fun.
I would like to just also point out that you added some utter shit on the end of that list.
Did I? What was it? I think I was just sort of brainstorming.
Mission Impossible on the N64. Okay, good. I saw Mission Impossible on the N64 and thought...
I was just thinking. I was googling movie game franchise, and I remembered. So Mission Impossible on the N64. I don't remember it being a good game, but I remember I really like Mission Impossible movies. They're just dumb action movies, and
even the first one. That's the one with the old face ripping off masks.
Yeah, but they're all like that. They're just so daft and stupid. And I remember the N64 game, there being like an interesting mechanic to it that involves a lot of putting on, like, you're dressing up as a waiter and walking around pretending to be a waiter to then, like...
Yeah, there is that.
Like, there was interesting mechanics to it. So I think I added it to the list based on that. Probably under no expectation that I actually... I was just like... Alex has put a lot of work into this. I'm going to engage with this in some way. So,
I just remember looking at him thinking, he wants to play the King Kong game. I hope he doesn't want to play that.
The King Kong one was that popped up.
I mean, I haven't got the 1,000 G's off it, so
no. Well, I was thinking easy 1,000 G's, and I think I was dawdling about in podcasts, and someone started talking about the early 360 era and how they liked the King Kong game. I was like, I'd never played that, and I was like, I don't really like King Kong. Don't think the game's that good, but I just added it.
And this is where that dynamic could actually be quite fun, because, I mean, most of the time on this podcast, we talk very positively about what we've played. And if we don't talk positively, we're talking about either like a moment, or we're talking about like something just being a bit bland. Whereas this gives us the chance to like maybe watch a totally shit film, but a really great game. And then we can
I'm much more willing to watch a shit film because it's like an hour and a half to 2 hours and we're out. Whereas a shit game is shit for 10, 15 hours.
I think the Arkham Asylum one as well, that would work, because that's got an anniversary, but it's in August, so we can like just repost it when it comes up.
Yeah, give it a retweet.
So there's that one's probably, I think it's almost certainly going to be cheap as fuck or on Game Pass by the time February runs around. So I would really like to do RoboCop Rogue City, because I'm getting that for Christmas anyway. And I just want to watch RoboCop because it's fucking awesome.
I've never seen RoboCop.
Oh my god!
That Indiana Jones one is another one. Like, genuinely, that Indiana Jones game is a
And I think if we do that, we have to watch the most recent Indiana Jones film, because I haven't seen that.
Maybe, yeah, because that Indiana Jones game is genuinely good.
The reason I noticed that you'd written them on there is because I was watching a video somewhere and saw someone talking about that and was like, this game actually looks like it's the shit. And David goes on about this. I'm going to go add that to the film. Oh, David's already added it. And then I was like, oh, he's also put Quantum of Solace on there.
Quantum of Solace was one. So the reason Quantum of Solace ended up on there is that it's basically a Call of Duty game.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, because they did that for the GoldenEye remake, or Reloaded, or whatever the hell that shit was.
I've never played it, and there's a guy I used to work with who used to bang on about that game, and I was just like, it might be a throwaway experience, so I just sort of added that to it.
Oh yeah, I'm glad that you went in and had a look and added loads of stuff.
Well, I also think there's like
demastered on the Metroidvania one, because I did see that and thought, is he going to want to play something like that?
Yeah, that looks good.
But yeah, it does look good. And Time Spinner, by the way, is fucking awesome.
It looks great.
It's really good.
It looks really good when I was sort of Googling about looking for what was on offer. Because like my brain always goes to Ori and the Blind Forest when we talk Metroid games. Like it's not a genre that I'm particularly up on.
Yeah, part of the reason that I was sort of saying like, oh god, the Metroidvania is not looking that exciting this year is because I looked at Ori and was like, I can't be bothered to play it again. Like it's beautiful and
I
lovely.
think I got
but
about
do I
halfway
wanna
through.
sit
Yeah,
there?
I got halfway through. Beautiful, lovely. I'd had my fill with it. Is my memory
Yeah,
of it.
yeah. But yeah, the film one's gonna be really good fun. I think RoboCop and Batman is a great start, and then maybe a third one if we can fit one
Such
in.
a
You need to
good.
play those Transformers games. They're so
Or
fucking
are they?
sick. They're like Gears, but also you can turn into a plane. Brilliant.
Yeah, maybe it's worth it then. And Megan
And the
Fox is
Warriors.
the Warriors is one that's yeah. How long? How long to beat the Warriors? Because maybe we could squeeze in a third.
Yeah,
Because that's one I think we need to have a look at. I remember the
we could do
combat mechanics being
GoldenEye in
great.
a weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the
And
only
we
thing I was
talked about
the only thing I
GoldenEye
was
for a long time.
well, yeah, but the only thing I was remembering about that, I realised I did Quantum of Solace there, but the only thing that was in the back of my head is you don't like Bond. So I was like, well, GoldenEye and Quantum of Solace is maybe a no go, but I was like,
I hate Quantum of Solace, the film, but I remember liking GoldenEye, the film, quite a lot.
the whole point. Well, I was thinking, I was looking at these, and that's why you've got a lot of shit in there. The whole point in these,
Oh yeah, yeah,
if my memory is like you chuck shit at the wall, and then we have a chat and see what sticks.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I didn't even know there was a Constantine game.
So the only reason that one went on is there's a YouTube channel I subscribed to that played that recently and said that it's actually quite good. And I watched the video and it was like, yeah, there's a lot of cool sort of gun stuff going on in this
I've
game.
never seen that film. I remember my sister used to really like that.
Yeah, I've seen it once, don't remember anything about it.
And then that Wolverine you've put on there is the new Wolverine game, isn't it?
The new Wolverine game, and then there's also a Wolverine game on the Xbox 360.
I really want to play that.
Is decent.
It's supposed to be very
It's
violent.
it's a good violent action game, and
Yeah.
from its time, bearing in mind that it came from the era that Spider-Man games absolutely fucking sucked. It's actually a good superhero movie. Game, sorry. It's actually a good superhero game.
Yeah, the problem with that, of course, is that one is an X-Men Origins game, and the film for that is supposedly like utterly abysmal. Well, but again, that's for a laugh, isn't it?
I went to the movie. It's the only time I've ever been to the cinema myself. Is I went to go see a Wolverine movie. And Wolverine died at the end of it. I'm sure. I don't know what movie that is, but he dies at the end. It's like it's maybe
Not
even
the
like
Wolverine.
it's like Logan. Maybe they
Oh
call it.
yeah, yeah, I loved that film. That was wicked.
Yeah, it was a good one.
So yeah, that's coming.
Plenty
that next year.
Yeah,
everybody.
plenty. I mean, like based on the last like 10 minutes, I don't know how much of that's going to make it into a podcast, but based on the last 10 minutes, we have got a lot to speak about. So
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to next year. We're gonna have
and
loads of fun.
maybe even Alex can squeeze in some anime that I can finally watch, because I did see there's a middlingly well received Attack on Titan game, and I do
enjoyed
like
that a
Attack on
lot.
Titan because I almost made the list, and I was like, and then it went Attack on Titan is not a movie, so I had to cut it.
There is
from
an
my brain.
Attack on Titan movie though.
Oh, is there? Because
There's live action.
I've seen season 1 of
It's
Attack on
wank.
Titan, and it is one of the few animes that I would say I really, really liked.
Yeah, I like that a lot as well. There is an Akira game on the NES, but no.
Is there any Studio Ghibli games
I'm surprised.
that you can draft
I'd
in
be
Cassie
surprised
into the
if not.
podcast?
There's supposed to be a very good Astro Boy game on the Game
Is
Boy
there?
Advance, and I guess there's a film for that. We've got so many to choose from.
We do. It's going to be good fun.
We're going to play Racing Lagoon next year as well. Fucking A. And I really, 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 really think we should try for December, because it's on the 29th, it has an anniversary. We should try Shenmue and see how much we can stomach it.
Maybe that's the one we can play together. A bit of.
Yeah.
See how far we get.
We can look for sailors together, my friend. Just like the olden days.
It's just my memory. One memory of that game. So I've never played it, but I think I've said this before on a podcast. But I watched Vinny Caravella play it on Giant Bomb, and my standout memory. I've got two standout memories of this, watching him play Shenmue 1 and 2, the entirety of. And one is racing on a forklift, which is great.
Yeah, which is brilliant, by the way. That's really fun.
And standing waiting on a bus.
And that is bullshit. Total bullshit.
Finish work, just standing waiting on a bus, and then at one point
This is why Marvel Snap exists.
he just wandered off and started playing the guitar. So yeah, it's like okay,
Yeah.
it's just.
Oh my god, yeah. I don't know if the remakes, because they are quite well received. So whether
Or are they? Because my memory of
not
it is
remake,
like
but the remaster is.
I know.
Maybe they
Yeah,
allow
okay.
to speed that up. I
Because
don't know.
was it Shenmue 3? Is that the one that came?
Bullshit. That's
Right.
terrible.
So that came out and it did the same thing. I remember like Colin Moriarty used to do like Podcast Beyond and IGN and stuff, and just always boasted. He was like, "Oh, I don't listen to games podcasts." I was like, listen to games podcasts is actually a good thing because it makes you understand what is going around, what is popular, and like how you create interesting content. Like boasting about not listening to the genre in which you're operating is not a good thing. Same thing happened with Shenmue 3. Is that that dude sort of just burst back onto the scene. He's like, "I've not played a game since I made Shenmue 2. Just not done it." I was like, well, that's not good. That is not a good thing. All you're going to do is recreate.
We know.
We can tell. It's fine.
What you mean you don't play turtle races anymore? The slowest of all the races. Fuck off. There's a really good video that I'll send you about Shenmue 3 because we're obviously never going to touch it. It's like this guy Super Eye Patch Wolf. Have you heard of him?
I don't think so.
I think he's Irish. Whatever. But he basically does like a whole like big teardown of why that game sucks, and it's really entertaining watch. And so you never have to play it. It's one of those videos that I've finished this so you don't have to.
Excellent.
Fascinating. Who is it? It's not Ken Kutaragi. That's bollocks.
I couldn't remember. I was hoping
Yu
you'd remember.
Find out his fucking name. Shenmue director. Yeah, it is Yu Suzuki. Yeah.
Probably hasn't played a game since either. So when Shenmue 4 comes out,
uses. Let's see. Has he actually got games developed? Apparently he did do. He was director on some stuff, and I could not tell you what any of it is. Virtua
they're
Fighter
not mobile games, are they?
Camp, Virtua Fighter Fever Combo, Bullet Pirates, Shenmue City. The fuck?
Shenmue City.
Sega Race TV. I mean, yeah, he did nothing of any interest whatsoever.
When does Sociable Soccer come out? Because we might have to just have a weekend playing that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And there's that.
It's out on Steam now, but I assume we'll wait for the console version.
I may have bought that On Guard game the other day as well, by the way. So you may own that now.
Sociable Soccer?
No, that On Guard game that I showed you.
Shit, I saw that was on sale, and I meant to text you about that, saying On Guard.
I think you didn't need to.
Yeah,
if I remember rightly,
legend.
It's only a $5 off as well, but it's only a $10. And then there's that thing we were looking at, that Resident Evil Echoes of something or other. Echoes of the Living, is it? That basically like old school Resi thing that those people have made by the thing I showed you that was on Steam.
Vaguely, that is ringing a bell.
Like a big homage to Resi, like a total Resi ripoff. That's
so
not
good.
Out.
Well,
yet.
I bought you own all the Half-Life games now.
Hey! You got the free thing.
I bought. Well, no, I paid for like it was like the deluxe pack, so it's like Half-Life 1, Half-Life 1 Source, and then Half-Life 2. You've got like a whole fucking suite of Half-Life games now, like a whole bunch of them.
And oh my god,
it's basically all the Half-Life games.
Old.
Like they ever made all the expansions. There's what's the magician guy? What's he called? The guy that made Borderlands. They made Randy Pitchford. Yeah, they made some and they made an expansion pack. That's all in there and stuff like that. So you've got a whole bunch of Half-Life stuff. Episode 1 and Episode 2, Half-Life 2. Because I didn't realize this. Half-Life 2 Episode 1, and Half-Life 2 Episode 2. There are 3 different games. Did not know that.
I played all of those on Orange Box.
Oh, I haven't. Have not. So.
What's the was it Dave's mod? What was the
Gary's mod?
Gary's mod. That's it. I remember a friend of mine I used to work with was obsessed with Gary's mod.
Yeah, it's like
too much effort, mate.
Yeah, it's like a make your own game sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll pay people to make me games and play them. Quite happy to do that.
Yeah. Fucking. So I swear I bought something else on Steam recently as well that you're probably going to own, but maybe it was on GOG.
Let's have a look after I stop recording.
Yeah.
Which I
Send us
suppose,
home, Davey.
yeah, we've been hanging around here for a while. So that brings us to the end of another classic episode of the Winners You podcast. If you liked what you heard, and even if you didn't, why not give our numbers a bump by subscribing to us on your podcast feed of choice? Or if you prefer to imbibe your podcast in a visual format, you can head on over to YouTube and search our Winners You podcast, where you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. If the podcast isn't enough for your weekly dose of our Winners You chattery, you can also follow us on the website formerly known as Twitter at WinnerIsYouPod, and even send us an email to tell us how wrong we are, or to fill in the gaps for this podcast that we've just done. Tell us about our gaming opinions by writing to winnerisyoupod@gmail.com. Alex and I also have Twitter at DavidSmiley1 and at SuperThrillix respectively. We also have TikTok now. Just head on over to TikTok and search for Winners You and we'll pop up. Any housekeeping, Alex? Any upcoming podcasts?
Yeah, probably.
He doesn't know what.
Hall of Fame's next one is Western RPGs.
Great topic. You did. And on that bombshell, I've been David, he has been Alex, and we have been Winners You, and I'm out.
Peace. Keep gaming.
Peace.